Are we on this time? Okay. All right. Do you have any public comment? Start with commissioners then.
Okay, well, it's been a week. Monday afternoon well, I want to start off by saying this morning was just beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous for this time of year. Usually it's 1,000 degrees and 1,000% humidity. So keep this up for as long as you can, maybe all the way till September. I'd be all right with that.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, I know. So Monday afternoon, I had a phone conversation with former RCPD director, Dennis Butler. He was in town to shore up a few personal things. Had a very pleasant dialogue. Was very complimentary of the work and efforts provided during his tenure, including the building and construction of the firing range. He was out there doing some post-retirement certification, and it's just reliving old times. It was just still amazed by just how nice of a facility that is and how it was all put together. So really appreciated a call. It's been quite negative here lately, so getting something complimentary, I kind of took me back just a little bit. So appreciated that. That's just to say the least. So Tuesday afternoon, I attended the monthly board of directors meeting for the Manhattan Area Chamber of Commerce after approval of the consent agenda, which included the minutes from the April meeting, financials through the end of April, and membership accounts. We heard from the Huddle Up group, this consultant group that the CVB is kind of consulting with. They gave a comprehensive presentation on the area's sports tourism. Pretty good detailed presentation, to be honest with you. Darren Solden then discussed the GMEP appointments, as well as the Amazon project, which I think we all just heard about, the 70,000 square foot facility out in the Business Technology Park. There'll be neighbors to me right next door. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of goes up and about.
I haven't heard how many people are going to employ.
146, 150.
146,
Yeah,
150.
yeah.
Okay.
Supposed to be built here in the next 3 years, or at least there's a 3-year gap in there. If don't, then the city can buy the property back for the purchase agreement. And the other good thing about it is there's zero incentive or abatement with that. So it just goes up and it'll go right on the property back. So that's good for us and a good win for Riley County. Everybody may have heard yesterday too that Caterpillar is not pulling out. So they're switching.
Different divisions.
Yeah. But they should be able to keep the majority of.
Keeping the workforce.
Good.
That's really good.
Really good news. So we've needed some good news. This with the PTMW that I'll talk about here in a second. We've had some good wins here. It's been a lot of work for a lot of people and it's finally paying off. So let's see what else with the chamber here. Jason Smith and Tom Phillips discussed some RHID testimony that was provided to the city commission on Tuesday evening. Tom Phillips also discussed the chamber's core principles to the BAC committee and provided an update on that. And then staff gave their typical update on everything they're working on. Tuesday evening, did take the time to watch part of the Manhattan City Commission meeting, watch the discussion on both the Amazon facility agreement, which passed, and the first of probably what's going to be many RHID applications that was present and that passed as well. Wednesday afternoon, I met with Jacob Hansen here, our interim county counselor, on a few items on today's agenda, give us some personal thoughts and ideas I'm sure we'll be discussing later. And we also had a call with Leavenworth County Commissioner Jeff Culberson to discuss several related and non-related county issues both counties faced. Leavenworth is kind of a mirror county, I tend to think, so thought we had a pretty good conversation. Yeah. So Wednesday, I chaired the May meeting of the Flint Hills Metropolitan Planning Organization. After some openings and some welcomes, we opened the meeting to public comment. Got a financial and staff update from the organization. I really need to learn how to spell, by the way. I hope Cindy catches that. As well as an update from KDOT. I keep saying form instead of from. Need to fix that. Okay, anyway. Several action items included were the approval of the minutes from the April 16th meeting and the May 5th special meeting that we had. And then we also had approval of amendment number 5 to the Connect 40 plan, just procedural type of things. Discussion items included updates on the US 24 corridor management plan and the second connection cost benefit analysis. There should be an MOU, a letter of commitment, coming here in the next couple of weeks to basically finalize that. That's got to be on KDOT's desk by mid-June. So working on getting the finalizations on that. You'll probably be getting both those contracts at some point in time. It's pretty simple. I don't think there should be any issues with it other than just checking it over.
Gotcha.
And then we discussed some other timelines and schedules for some other things that we need to do for that meeting. And last evening, I met with Ben Lebo and Peter from Make My Move. Darren Solden, along with the chamber, joined us on that one at Tallgrass to discuss some initiatives and timelines they are working on. They want to point out they're from the greater Indianapolis area, and they're in town for the first time. So hopefully you've enjoyed your time.
Yep.
Good.
Great.
Good. They're going to probably be back at some point in time to present, but I thought that's why they were here. I'd bring them in and introduce them to everybody and give them a chance just to kind of chat and just break the ice. So I think you're here just until about what, 9:30?
Yeah.
And then they're heading to Emporia. So they're kind of doing a loop through the state right now. So got an interesting proposal. I think it's something that we might be able to do and should consider, but we'll get to that as we move along. I had fun last night.
Yeah.
That was quite the game. I hadn't watched the NBA game in quite some time, and I certainly picked the right one apparently. So they're Pacers fans if you haven't figured that out, and Fever fans too.
Oh, yeah.
So big fans of Caitlin Clark.
Mhm.
So yeah, so just throwing that out there as well. So Thursday morning, this morning, I attended the Advantage Manhattan Investors Meeting hosted by the Manhattan Area Chamber of Commerce at the Hilton Garden Inn. Got an update on some recent developments taking place in the region and the new PTMW manufacturing firm from Topeka that's going in the speculative warehouse spot over on McCall where, what was it before that? I forget. Is that General Mills? What was in there before? What they tore down?
Retro.
Yeah, yeah. They're going to be building, I guess, what's a lot of steel cases for data centers and potentially AI out of this particular facility. So yeah, something new and interesting. Average starting wage will be about $60,000. It'll employ also 146 people. So within the Manhattan scope here, we'll have 300 new jobs coming online here pretty soon. That's pretty significant when you think about it. So, and with that, that's all I have. I've probably talked enough this morning.
What's
Okay.
ringing out there? Is that outside?
Somebody's back again.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, is that- that's weird. Okay. Well, let's see, Monday afternoon, I participated in the law board meeting at City Hall. Discussions were on the 2026 budget, including the school resource officers and the animal control operations. After a long discussion with no resolution, we voted to have a special meeting, and it's going to be held on Wednesday, May 28th.
Over the last 3 years. All right. You're on a roll.
I know, yeah. That's the role, I tell you. So, later that day, I met with Scott Seal, who has filed for a seat on the city commission. We had a general discussion of issues facing the city and county. And I've known him ever since he and my daughter went to college together, so I've known him a long time. Tuesday, I had a doctor's appointment, then I had a water PT session, which is getting really pretty good, actually. It's actually getting it's doing some work, so. Wednesday, I went through today's meeting agenda and documents, followed up on several issues, including several on the animal control issue before the law board, as well as the commission. In the afternoon, I attended the elected officials board meeting of Workforce One. They're proposing to increase the district by more counties, which was, I mean, it's like, I haven't even quite figured this map out yet. It's like, pretty soon they're gonna have the entire state. I don't know what the deal is. I didn't go to the last, they had a retreat in Salina. I didn't make it to that. So I've got to call them, and I think where this line is, what it is existing, where the blue is. Which is, I mean, anyway, it was pretty confusing. So it was online, so it was kind of. Anyway, let's see, where was I? After a lengthy discussion, the elected board decided to take some time for consideration, make a determination at a later date. That evening, I attended, we had a handbell polishing session party at the church. followed by our choir going to have some dinner together to end the season, and then we ran into you guys
Yes,
at
yeah.
the tap house. So that was, we got the bells all polished up, put away for the next season. So that's all I have.
Well, Monday, as Catherine mentioned, was the law board meeting, budget and animal control officers took up a lot of time, and we do have another special meeting to try to get things hammered out.
Mm,
And after the law board meeting, I came back here and had a series of questions and stuff, met with Elizabeth and then Brittany and then Anna, go over a bunch of miscellaneous items. Tuesday evening, I watched the Manhattan City Council with their RHID approval with no questions asked.
There are lots of
And-
dissension there though, too.
Hmm.
A lot of dissenters spoke on it,
Well,
3 or 4.
and I can't wait until we have our meeting on this because I've had some more sheets with the numbers. I'm going to have a lot of questions.
Right.
Wednesday was the Juvenile Detention Center meeting. As everybody else is doing, we're working on the first review of the budget. And it's not, we'll be finalizing it at our next meeting. It wasn't, there's a few minor questions. It was a lot easier than some of the other ones. And also though, Riley County has increased the use of this facility dramatically in the last few years. And I came back and gave Brittany the numbers to use in our budget, but because we were extremely low for a while and we're not now. Then after that, I had a meeting. John Mata had asked to have a meeting, and most of the conversation was about the law board budget and the animal control officers, kind of going over some stuff. So I brought up RHID. He didn't seem to be interested in discussing that. So that's all I had.
Ready for business commissioners? First up, having a motion to approve mobile device reimbursement request form.
Go ahead and make a motion for the mobile device reimbursement request form.
I would second that.
Been moved, moved and seconded to approve the mobile device reimbursement request form. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair, please sign. Next, Commissioner Riley County Employee Action Forms, Natasha Johnson, new hire, on-call juvenile intake officer, community corrections, Caleb Beckwith, EMT, EMS ambulance, department separation service, Aaron Kunkelman, new hire, on-call juvenile intake officer, community corrections. All three, please sign.
That form, that was it the pro forma, something the RHID printed off for me. Can you print me another one? I started making notes on it. Now it's illegible.
I'll bring it before your meeting.
Actually, send it back to all of us, because I use a couple copies of it too.
Okay,
Yeah, that'd be fine. But like I say, I started making notes and now it's a scribbled. Like,
Yes, commissioners.
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes as presented from the May 19th, 2025 meeting of the Raleigh County Commissioners.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the May 19th meeting as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Tentative agendas look, commissioners.
A lot more tentative.
Lot shorter. Appreciate it. But it'll load up. Brittany will load with something on us.
Exactly. Enjoy it while it lasts.
Man. Thought we were smooth sailing. Guess not.
Any items for next week's press conference, commissioners?
No, we're good.
If not, I'm up at 9 o'clock.
That'll be a good time to introduce Ben to each one of you here. They're from a company called Make My Move. I'll let him kind of lay that out a little bit and what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, thanks,
Ben, if you
Commissioner.
could, keep your hand, you know,
Yeah,
then-
that's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries.
Then the media contacts us, say, who was that guy talking? What'd he say?
Fair enough. Thank you, Commissioner Ford. Ben Leda with Make My Move from Indianapolis. If you've ever heard of a company called Angie's List a while back, the group that started this company were the folks that started and grew that company. We took it public, and really quick history, about 2018, we kind of got the band back together and we looked at what we saw as the sort of biggest threat to Indiana, which was we had more jobs than we had people. And from a talent and workforce perspective, we thought, can we deploy what we learned from a consumer marketing, data analytics, and technology to sort of address that? Similar, what we did was we created a marketplace. What we do is we enable communities to essentially market themselves and promote themselves and their quality of life, and really put together what we call benefit packages to entice people to relocate to their community. So we've scaled that in Indiana. We have 34 communities or programs that do that. Last year, we moved over 800 households, so over 2,000 people from outside Indiana into our communities in Indiana. And during our conversation and success doing that, I got connected with someone out in Lincoln County, Kansas, Kelly Gurley, and we said, hey, let us.
Economic Development Committee.
That's correct. And said, hey, let us try to do this. And we did. We've moved over 5 families, over 11 folks to Lincoln County. It's as simple as this. When you move to Lincoln County, they have their football team will come in and unload your U-Haul. They got a reverse meal train that we put together. When you show up in your first year, some of the families put together essentially, you know, potluck dinners that bring you in. You get farm fresh eggs from a local farmer there.
That's a big one.
We do have a relocation for $5,000. There's a reimbursement of relocation, and that's paid out over 2 years, so it's not all out front. Well, through our work there in Lincoln, we expanded that to 26 counties in the Northwest area. We have Neodesha, Reno, and Hutchinson. And then in this recent legislative session, we were actually able to advocate for and get approval and passage of a grant program similar to what we have in Indiana with state funding. And so it's an 80-20 split. I've presented to Commissioner Ford essentially. What we can do is we can go secure state dollars to go run this play. There does need to be an investment at the local level and sort of organization at the local level, which is why I'm here. And then what we will do is the proposal would be to move 20 new households to the community, to the county. What we see is this: the average household is about 2.3. So most of the time, these folks are bringing a significant other or trailing spouse. 57% of the time, those folks are taking employment inside the local economy. And then about 33% of the time, they're bringing at least one school-aged child. So we know what that means for our school systems and that sort of stuff from a funding perspective. And so we kind of think of it as a no-brainer. We also think of it as economic development through people. Obviously, it's human capital that really is the driver behind all of our economics. And so this is our first time here, but obviously we know a lot about Manhattan and Riley County and all those things. You read about it. You guys are obviously doing a great job of marketing it. And so got connected with Commissioner Ford about 2 years ago, and we've been talking about this. Obviously, I think with the respect to the state funding and the grant program, it changes the paradigm here, because again, you really only need to come up with about 20% of what it costs to do this. So we think it's we think of it as very wise investment into the community. If you think about these folks you're bringing or selecting your community to come here, they want to be a part of it. What's driving this primarily that we see across the marketplaces, folks are just kind of, for the first time ever, due to technology and the pandemic sort of sped some of these things up, but people are making choice about the community first, and then they're going to get the employment second. They're looking at, there's oftentimes in high cost, untenable situations in other states, and they're sitting there going, there's a better life for me and my family elsewhere. And what they're doing is they're making a very conscious decision on where do I want to live, where do I want to be. And part of that is they want to come to communities where they can get engaged, where they can contribute to a community and quite frankly feel a part of it. So that's what we do. That's sort of our business. And hopefully we'll be able to partner with you folks. I'm traveling. I was in Kansas 2 weeks ago for a whole week. I'm here. The grant program is going to be administered through the treasurer's office. I believe those applications the portal will be open sometime in mid-June. We anticipate, strong interest and demand. The legislation was only for $3 million across the 2-year biennium, so it's 1.5 for this first year in fiscal year 2026, and it'll be 1.5 in fiscal year 2027. So it is something that I'm educating folks around because, if it is something you want to do, we want to kind of get in line and get our application in as soon as possible because we do think it'll be sort of oversubscribed.
Is that 1.5 million, is that for the whole state?
It is for the whole state. So
Okay.
the grant application, good question. It's limited to the max is 250,000 per program. So essentially the max you could apply for is $250,000. And I believe the pro forma that we have presented is for those 20 households, which again, across the average of our platform is about 2.3 folks per household. So, we're estimating around 40 new folks that we would bring or plus to Riley is about the cost on the local level is around $30,000.
Yeah, and the cost of living here in Manhattan is pretty high compared to what it is, say, in our rural areas. So are a lot of people looking at, say, rural areas too?
Absolutely. So
That's our focus.
So
Okay.
again,
Yeah,
in
my focus on this one.
yeah, so great question. In Northwest Kansas, right? It's a rural area. We've moved over 40 households there. Interestingly enough, what you're seeing is the fact that folks would like to have some of that acreage and those sort of things for cost of living, but they also want close proximity or access to, the other amenities that come with a community. In Indiana, 78% of our movers are going to communities that either have decreasing population or stagnant. So we're not moving them to the metropolitan areas. We're promoting sort of our rural communities that, quite frankly, oftentimes they don't have a lot of traditional economic development projects or pipelines. And so, when you bring 5 families that bring a job or take a job, that sort of thing, it really makes an impact.
Okay, that is the chamber on board with helping out the
Yes.
rural
Yeah,
communities.
sure are. And we're actually talking to Pottawatomie County as well. And so there may be a split of funds. Basically what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get an application process to leverage the state funds to get the people moved here, and then the local funding will come in on the back end as those things are happening. So it
Yeah.
wouldn't even be an upfront cost. And then it's an immediate return on investment when they step foot. And if they bring kids, we know that each one of our kids in the public school system, they cost about $17,000 per student. So if you get 2 students out of there, we've already paid off our investment.
Yeah, how the funding works, to the commissioner's point is, obviously there needs to be a commitment to demonstrate to the state that not only is the community wanting to do this, but they've committed the resources to do this. But essentially you commit that, we go get the state dollars, they come in 2 tranches. So half of whatever you're awarded will come up front, which would kind of pay us and get the ball rolling, get the program running. And then really your investment isn't made until we start moving people because it's tied to that sort of performance base. So like the commissioner said, you're really not spending that unless we start moving folks in, which obviously you're starting to see the benefits immediately. Because if you think about these folks move in, they buy a home or they rent a home, they're doing their grocery shopping, getting a doctor, dentist, all those things are now happening in Riley County, not, in San Francisco or wherever.
I've got a packet. I'll
Okay.
make some copies, get in your hands.
And
They're gonna
happy
be
to,
back in Kansas sometime.
probably sometime in early June.
Yeah, so I'll have them come in and give a full-on presentation on that if that's.
It's interesting, yeah.
Okay.
Great. Thank you all.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well.
Need to get some houses redone and fixed up in the rural areas.
My thought was is to try to get
Some infill up
these
there.
individuals moved into the smaller cities and
Mhm.
into the unincorporated areas.
Well, yeah, that would be.
That was,
would be
that was. my
something
thought.
we need to, yeah. We probably ought to pull in the Rural Economic Development Advisory Committee.
Do that.
Because, they were talking about, infill and,
They just meet
projects.
yesterday or Wednesday. They usually meet on the third Wednesday, so they might have met yesterday. I'll ask on that. That's a good
Yeah, I was
thought.
there last month and, yeah, they were really talking about bringing families in, and especially, I think it was Whiteville, they were talking about having houses that need.
Chamber is talking as if they might throw some dollars in to incentivize that effort. So on the back end to just make it a little bit more lucrative for people to wanna come here. So like buying like, I don't know, theater tickets or baseball tickets or something like that, just to,
Football would be good if they buy some
yeah, if
football.
they would give those ones up,
Gets
that would be
people
great.
going.
Yeah. Or I said call hall ice cream
Well,
myself,
it's not gonna be
But you're
open
not-
yet.
Shut down.
Yeah, I know.
It is now.
It is
Yeah.
now, yeah.
Last Friday, Saturday.
But it won't be shut down forever, but
A couple of years probably,
yeah, it's like 9 months.
I thought it was a year, but yeah.
whenever they get that building done. Moved in.
Progress. We'll have a new facility that'll last for 100 years. Or something like that.
I don't need it to last that long, but.
No.
Fair enough.
6 year would be nice.
It'd be nice if they could have set up just a temporary spot and kind of ran at least a quarter of the speed or something, so there were some available, but I'm sure somebody stashed them away
Do a
somewhere.
food truck.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah. I tried to get over there in time. Because I have a couple of half gallons left.
Oh. I got a half a gallon left at home and no, I'm gonna stretch that out. I don't eat a lot of ice cream anymore, yeah.
A spoonful at a
Yeah.
time. And that's tough.
It is, because when you have wood, you've got to have a
You gotta have
second
it.
one. It's just how it goes. Yeah.
It's like potato chips.
Uh-huh. Can't just have one, yeah.
When I get the chips out, I have to
Alright.
take a portion,
How are you?
put them away.
Yeah, take some out.
I just
Put
put it-
it away or.
No, it's work.
So I bought a couple of jars of some salsa from 1880 beef, so I'm gonna have to buy some chips now. Crackers or something.
Surely bought some steak too, didn't
I did.
I don't know, just go to a meat shop and buy salsa.
you? That's what I was thinking
They have
too.
some Mexican bean salsa and peach salsa.
Sounds good.
They had quite a article on the owner of that in the Manhattan magazine
Yeah.
this month. That's amazing.
Back 7
Back-
generations.
Yeah,
And-
and the experience. Anyway,
Ready, commissioners? Good morning, Commissioner Rich Varga, Raleigh County Clerk. Here to discuss the Peterson Ranch benefit district process. You guys, I'm sure, have read through read through our policies on procedurally how these are handled typically. Unfortunately, this one was not handled the way we generally do them through our policy, or always have done them through our policy. This policy, as you see, was formalized in 2013. That was worked on in combination with Craig Cox and Clancy Holman, our office, the appraiser's office, because as you can see, there's a lot of steps and they are very convoluted on setting them up properly, being sure people are aware of what's going on. Of course, we get the petitions, where people sign in favor or not, but when people go and get those petitions circulated, we're not always sure what they're told. So that's the reason why the formal process is in place, to be sure the public hearings held at the appropriate time, and then they are given ultimately appropriate notice, because we are asking them to pay for those costs. And when you're asking people to pay for costs, whether it's ad valorem taxes or special assessments, it can get very sensitive. So it's just as it stated there at the bottom, ultimately the only error was just having the public hearing too soon and without proper notice. And so we would just like to get the okay from the board to correct that by having the public hearing at the appropriate time and being sure appropriate notice does get sent out.
Shouldn't we have had Amanda here? Because she's.
She is.
And planning development, I'm glad you brought that up. Planning and development on those original policies, they were on board.
Okay, that's who,
It takes multiple
Didn't-
departments.
yeah.
In Public Works, all of us have to work together on those. And when we caught this error, Amanda has been involved in all these meetings to this point, along with
Okay.
all departments that work on these. That's how we operate here. We include everyone at the table that should be involved. Yeah, that's the chair.
Yeah. Have you talked to Mary Carson? Does this affect our financing? She was on.
I talked. Right. I did call Mary. As far as financing, she didn't say it would impact our financing, but we still have to like finalize that piece. So that's, Bryant was working on that. And that is something that normally I would work on. So, once we kind of get this rolling, again, and get kind of back in with our policies, then I'll reach back out and continue that process with Mary. So.
Okay.
And we sent out certified mail, I mean,
That's what we do. We should do.
but. Go ahead.
We have sent out, our office did end up sending out on May 8th, certified letters and then also published. So we did, there is some, the process, of course, these people are still being afforded an opportunity to protest. So there is that.
The project, as soon as if you send it out on the 8th,
Yeah, we sent it out on the 8th, so they have until.
oh, they'd
the
have till
28th.
next week to protest.
Right. And as Rich said, and in the policy that we have in place, it doesn't necessarily discuss. The internal policy does require that, but my understanding is the other policy just says that we have to do the public hearing pursuant to state statute, which pursuant to state statute, there is no requirement for the public hearing, so a little iffy on the maybe legally necessarily necessary, but maybe to clean everything up. And for Mary, I don't know, maybe that'll be a sticking point for her, so that's why I asked the question.
Go ahead.
So if we've sent out the mail, so basically we just need to have another public hearing.
Yes.
And is that, but we'll need to publish it. How long before, when we publish it, how long do we have after that to have a meeting?
21 days.
Another 20.
Number
so another-
17 there, Commissioner, on the procedural list. And that's why, you know, the policy that Jacob's referring to is the general overall generic policy stating the first steps in it. This is the detailed procedural, because that's what everyone prior to this policy being implemented, who's doing what's our responsibility statutorily, and or how do we want to process them in Riley County to be consistent that all of them are done the same. Agreed, by law, we don't have to, but this is Riley County's policy on procedurally how we handle them that was, like I said, developed with all departments that were at the table at 2013, planning, development, public works, and legal.
Does this delay the project then? Or do we have an engineer?
We're ready to put that out to bid next week.
No.
And this is supposed to be published once in the Manhattan Mercury.
Yeah.
Or 19, has that been done? That was done.
That was done
Okay.
on May 8th, and so.
That was done on May 8th, plus the
So-
letters, right?
Yeah, so essentially, if you look at the internal policy, that number 17, the hearing was set already, and then we did the certification of providing notice to everybody after the fact instead of before.
Okay.
And so this is an internal policy, so it's not necessarily binding on us by any means, but obviously this is something we want to follow and keep consistent. So, you know, that's up to you guys. And again, I don't know if Mary Carson's gonna forfeit over that, and if she might, then that might settle the question, but.
What, to follow these policies or state policies? Okay.
Yeah, specifically this internal
So
one.
basically, we got to send out notices again, send out certified mail again.
That's what we
If you
recommend.
choose.
Did we get any of them back from the first one that people weren't there or they didn't receive them?
Our office hasn't heard anything, and I can't remember if they were directed to specifically to our office or to the clerks, probably the clerks considering it's for a petition. So haven't heard anything. I do know, at least for the petition, almost every, I wouldn't say every, but I think we're only a couple shy of the entire district
Mhm.
on the petition. So that's something to consider as well.
Because, yeah, I know in some cases they don't, they don't, they're absent for a while, or whatever, and sometimes they're returned. I know we had that problem with
Yeah.
kids.
Mhm.
I know with
So,
working with Mr. Bluckett, he's definitely kept us well advised of everything as it goes on.
He's on top of it for sure.
Yeah.
So we just need to send that out.
That's ultimately what they're requesting, is that we basically start that process over. We'll file, or not we'll file, but we will do a publication. And then we will send certified mail to each of the landowners, and then set from the date of the publication, 21 days after the fact. And we'll do it again. And then once that 21 days elapses, once the that hearing comes, we'll do another resolution establishing the district again. And then that'll allow John to do temporary financing and get all that
Okay.
wrapped up.
Does that work with your things, John? Your timelines?
If I have to, yeah.
Just delays it a month.
Yeah.
Delay it,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's gonna be the easiest way to go about it
Yeah.
at this point, so.
And John and Amanda were all involved in this, as was Jacob prior to bringing it to the board.
Promotion.
Yeah.
Make a motion, we back up and start over.
That's a good motion.
I'll second that. I didn't actually see a motion on.
No,
Okay, but one. More of a discussion piece from us.
Can we just do it by consensus?
Yeah, I think so.
You're not treating it as a time authority.
Okay. Do it by
Okay.
consensus,
it's fine with me.
because we'll have to make a motion at the end of that one anyway to to send it along, so that'll work.
And Brittany just get Cindy the right wording for that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, commissioners. Next up, executive session. Oh, thank you, ma'am. Sorry. Brittany. Yeah, sure.
So you talked to my friend Steve, huh?
I did. Yeah, he gave me a lot of ideas. All of a sudden I was kind of coasting along, and now I've got about a list of 20 people I need to get in.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
So like my head's spinning a little bit now, so. And it seems like kind of. If I talk to somebody else, then that usually creates 2 or 3 other calls I need to make, so.
Yeah, well, everything you can do up front, is.
Yeah, I feel good about it, because I'm like, more prepared I can be earlier. I don't want to wake up like in November and be like,
Oh, no, you can't do that.
yeah. So,
Yeah,
yeah, it's good.
earlier you start, the better.
Yeah. Yeah, Scott and I are gonna get together tomorrow too, and
Are you?
try to yeah, we can help each other too, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I've known Scott for a long time.
Turned out to play basketball against him several years ago, and
Yeah, I knew he was gonna run for something sometime.
yeah. So I guess we knew each other, I just didn't remember we knew each other, I guess, but.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, he's a realtor, so he knows a lot.
yeah, I think he's a natural fit for that position for, yeah.
Yeah, I think he will be.
Yeah,
So we'll see.
seems like a good guy, so.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Well, his kids are pretty much grown.
Oh, yeah, that's true, I did,
And this business pretty established, so that's good.
yeah. Yeah, Alliance is a pretty good machine over there.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
That's what we bought our house
Really
from.
hard at that for a long time.
Sold their house, yeah, so.
It was just like a two-man operation for a long time.
Was it?
Yeah. before he came.
They probably have what, 10 realtors or 15?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Property management and all sorts of things.
Oh, that's right, yeah, yeah.
Morning.
Which one of these do we need on there?
I haven't even looked at them. I didn't know you had options. Which one did you think, Jacob? Did you have an opinion?
Well, no, because I don't know exactly what the purpose, I know you said personnel matters, but I don't know past that.
Other covers it.
Yeah, it might not be good for coma there, but
If you want, Rich, we can have a quick little chat and so that we can figure out which one.
yeah, it will.
He's good. Yeah. Yep. I'm not sure I lose him as much as I used to be, so, yeah. He's good though.
So this is a
you have dogs
puppy.
too?
Kind of a puppy.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, I don't honestly know myself. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like. Well, they're puppy girls. Like 13 pounds.
Just hearing yourself say it. Just hearing yourself say it.
I agree. I'm one of those people that takes them on first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of figured that was.
I always have big dogs.
Yeah, but we had to say it out loud to figure it out.
All of my big dogs like.
And we talked about it previously.
Oh, yeah. Like big dumb ones.
They're not.
They're not dogs.
Oh, how dare you.
Well, that's I have a friend who's like, I like them dumber than, yeah, like the big ones that are, yeah. I like my dogs. Well, I like smart dogs.
We'll talk more in the line.
Today weekend. I haven't had one of those for a while.
Yeah, I got grandchild number 5. I get to watch grandchild number 1 as grandchild number 5 is being arrived.
No, you could just use their names.
Of course. Number 5,
I feel especially.
That's what I was thinking
Number
too.
5, I know the name if the parents took my advice because we have 2 and 2. So I said, we're just gonna name it tiebreaker. With the 2 girls, so. And my daughter wasn't a fan of that.
No.
We got a boy tie, you know, that works.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know how we're gonna top this, but
Let's give it a whirl, huh?
yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and move that the county commissioners, including Chairman McKinley, Vice Chair Foki, and Commissioner Ford, with Jacob Hansen. Oh, wait, Jacob A. Hansen.
Yeah.
Notice that. Right?
Sometimes I slide that one in there.
Interim County Counselor and Rich Fargo County Clerk and Elizabeth Ward, Human Resource Director, recess into executive session on a performance matter of non-elected personnel, an exception to the Kansas Open Meetings Act for the purpose of discussing the work conduct of an employee and to protect the privacy of the employee. The open meeting to resume in the commission chamber at 9:50 a.m.
Would second that.
Been moved and seconded for the county commission to recess into executive session for reasons previously stated under the performance matter of non-elected personnel exception to the Kansas Open Meeting Act. All in favor?
Aye.
Commissioners, the meeting is live.
I'll move that the Board of County Commissioners come out of executive session.
I second that.
And moved and seconded for the board to come out of executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll also move the record reflect no binding action was taken during the executive session.
I would second that.
And moved and seconded, the record reflect no binding action was taken during executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Next is Evan, 9:50.
Morning, Commissioners. Evan McMillan, Public Works. So today I have for you some of the sales tax projects that we have coming up. As you all know, we recently requested RFQs for 9 structure replacements to be funded through the more recent 1/5 sales tax that was established in 2022. Staff and the Road and Bridge Advisory Board has reviewed the RFQs, and we would like to move forward with the following consultant selections and begin contract negotiations. And see those down here. Schwab Eaton will get 3 structures, BG 2, Bartlett and West 2, and SMH 2. All the consultants that submitted RFQs were well qualified for the projects they were looking to get. In addition to these projects, which would be funded under the new sales tax, Public Works also recommends moving forward with Marlatt Avenue Corridor Reconstruction Project, which will be funded under the old sales tax that was, I believe, established in 2012. Any exceeding or cost exceeding that old sales tax will be covered through the new sales tax. And then also this resolution includes that the sales tax funds cover any excess costs for the asphalt overlay programs. Typically, every year we budget a certain amount. So anything that, if the amount were to come over what was budgeted, we would use this along with the federal fund exchange money to cover that. So the resolution that's presented today also includes under section 3, authorization of the Director of Public Works to fund future road and bridge construction projects at his determination. That kind of keeps us from going back to create a resolution for every project that's dedicated to the sales tax. Obviously, we're going to bring it in front of you to get your approval before moving forward with contract negotiations with the consultants. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
No. Glad to see we're
I was,
getting a lot of these things. I don't realize it doesn't just happen. Oh, let's do, but
Yeah,
it takes some time to get it all going, but
forward.
it's good to see them all moving.
Yeah, definitely.
okay. Well, I would make a motion that we accept the recommendation to move forward with the contract negotiations as provided in the CAR and approval of the attached resolution indicating specific projects to be funded through sales tax funds.
Second.
Moved and seconded to move forward with contract negotiations as provided in the CAR and for approval of the attached resolution indicating specific projects to be funded through the sales tax funds. All in favor?
Aye. All agree, please sign. Thanks, Evan.
Thank you.
Oh, next commissioner, you have Evan again at 10:05.
Meeting, but
What?
I know it's not the public comment side, but just so you're aware, we had a trailer fire at the transfer station last night. Yeah. Found and put out within an hour. And just no other damage except probably to that trailer.
Is that one of our trailers or something brought in?
Trailer. Camps.
Oh, okay. Was there anything in there that was flammable that you know about?
Maybe chemicals or maybe some type of
Batteries or anything?
It's hard to tell.
That's fine.
Mhm.
So that's fine. It would be.
Thank you.
Mine's so scribbled up now that
Oh,
I can't read.
this-
I started looking
Okay,
at
I'll take a
numbers and
second.
got sick going up the side.
Seems like it's an Evans show today.
Yeah, he's got 3 in a row, I didn't know.
Saying it, yeah, he's got
Three in a
3 in a row, right?
Bless you. That's the McMillan show today.
It is. Boom, boom, boom. Triple trouble.
That means we'll get better bids.
Hopefully.
Two weeks ago.
Like I said, he watched all of the meeting,
Mhm.
through the meeting, but I guess they approved the first resolution to start the other two projects.
That John's been saying there's more coming.
Thank you.
Up and up.
I didn't know.
You lecture some people? You lecture some people? It's trains and it's trains.
I know.
He didn't have.
I called
He
him.
didn't have it.
So people fill in, it's part of training. They didn't know, because she has this additional step they just updated, so she's flying around. It's a good thing we had time, and I called, so I had time to put it all together. I said, do that. Have some discussion. Like that. Part of training. Part of training. That's another one that's gonna be hard to replace.
I just say that I probably.
Oh, don't sit down yet.
No.
Isn't it?
Five, we have 2 minutes. 3
3
minutes.
minutes.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks. And the.
That's one.
That's where it's coming in.
That's, well, no.
I'm like.
It's just originally developed.
Mhm.
That's one of them. I mean, I've got. 1.9. 75,000. There's another one in here. some state.
And then we're still in the red.
Yeah.
Yeah, how does that work?
Yeah, I've got all kinds of
Yeah, that's,
numbers.
yeah,
Been
I'm just,
working.
you're the numbers guy. I'm just. But I'm looking at that going,
Yeah. Here for the minutes.
I have seen this before.
yeah, that's amazing, because I was going to look online, but I got it already. Okay.
Well, I don't know. I'll just pass it along.
Thanks, Rich, appreciate it.
That's the engineer's estimate.
Okay, all right, looks like we've got a bid opening here. Transfer station tipping floor and chute repair replacement. I guess I'll actually start off with the engineer's estimate that I have from BG Consultants. There's base bid from them of $176,348.76. So that was a base bid, and then there was an alternate bid of $219,703.79. All right. First one I have is from NF Construction out of Marion, Kansas. Two addendums with this. Two bids as well. Grand total for that, there's, like I said, there's two bids on this. $699,981.40. Second bid. Looks like it also includes some kind of a plate installation.
Is this the second bid or the alternate for that one?
It's the alternate.
That's the alternate.
Which, the 699 is the alternate or?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
alternate one, and then there's an alternate two.
That's not the base.
I don't see anything that says base on it.
The steel plate is probably the alternate too.
Yeah, it is on the alternate too. That's the only thing that's different. And with that extra plate installation, brings that alternate two bid to $773,425.70.
Will you repeat that, please?
Yeah, $773,425.70.
And that's the alternate.
Alternate two. That's how it's listed.
So the base is the 699.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been from NF Construction, Marion, Kansas. Two addendums acknowledged. Bid bond included. Base bid, $699,981.40. Alternate, $773,425.70.
Bid number two I have is from Walter Morgan's Construction. That's here in Manhattan. Bid bond document. Two addendums acknowledged. Something going away on me here. Okay. Okay, bid one, and there is two bids. Grand total in that first one I have is $804,888 even. On the second one that has that plate installation as well. Is $849,240 even. Guess it might be worth noting too, 174 working days starting on August 1st of this year. Yeah, I'm not taking that off. Yeah. Nothing to do with it there. I'll send it though.
The second bid from Walter Morgan, Construction Manhattan. Bid bond included. Then we wanted to acknowledge. First bid, $804,880. Alternate, is $849,240.
It's a way off from the engineers. I mean, why is it so far off?
We have to ask them.
I know, but it just seems really strange.
It is really strange.
Well, for one, it doesn't show anything about a plate installation on there. Not that that would make a huge
Well, yeah.
difference.
Yes, it does.
On the bid?
Yes, look at.
It goes on the alternate,
Right
right?
there.
Oh, it does. It's,
About 62,000.
The difference is.
100,000.
well, that's between those two, but
That'll be a do-over.
That's a weird, yeah.
something tells me that's the engineer.
Obviously, but we got to do the whole process over again.
I know.
This doesn't work.
Cause it's way over that 10%.
I'm not a numbers guy, but.
Well, we negotiate.
Oh, gee.
I know that grout topping that was specified on there, the subcontractor work for that,
You mind coming up to the podium?
Sure. the metallic grout topping there. That was more than the engineer's estimate for just the subcontractor work on there. So, I mean, there's definitely a lot higher costs than was accounted for.
I originally looked at that, and thought that's way low.
Yeah, there's,
I don't know much about all this equipment, but I can put two and two together.
yeah, there's something wrong here.
Hopefully, we're not paying for a second estimate on that either.
Should probably.
Okay. I guess for the moment, then I'll make a motion that we send the bid backs for staff for further analysis and a recommendation.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded to send the bids to staff for review and recommendations. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Time for the Evan McMillan show to continue, commissioners.
Yeah, in the 4 years of that, I've never seen one that far off.
They missed something in the bidding process.
Hey, Evan, you're up again.
Hello again, try to make this quick. So again, on those sales tax projects, we have 9 structures coming out. Figured that was a good opportunity to apply for the KDOT funding that is available. That is for this year or the 2026 year and 2027. So that is through the Kansas Local Bridge Improvement Program and the Off-System Bridge Improvement Program. The structures we'd like to apply for are going to be the Green Randolph structure and Lasida Road bridge replacement. We have been awarded this funding in the past. Rose Hill and South Otter Creek was awarded. That being said, this program is extremely competitive. There are several bridges throughout the state that are in dire need of repair. So a conservative estimate of construction costs for these projects is around 1.16 million, with potential KDOT funding up to a little over 1 million if awarded. So this would just be for approval to submit an application for those grant applications.
Okay, I would make a motion to move forward with a bridge program application as presented.
Second.
Then moved and seconded to move forward with the bridge program applications. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Evan. Sheriff,
you.
please sign.
What's that? There's no signature, I don't think.
Yeah, at the top.
Is there?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
Got one now.
Or is a signature
Yeah.
somewhere?
I was looking.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely a signature.
Thank you.
Build those units each. 1,500 square feet.
Yeah.
Maybe we ought to make a deal with nursing home people to buy those lots. I'm gonna pay him that.
Anything this year? I
Yeah.
think you said you were cutting back.
I got
Yeah.
tomatoes and peppers and onions, cucumbers. What's those? Cilantro. Ooh, it's like a weed. It's
It's a vine weed.
When it comes up, it
spread
comes up.
Like I say, last year it looked like it didn't even survive.
Mhm.
And then this year it just,
Yeah, mine
it
too.
evidently knocked off seeds and that, you have to get seeds and.
I didn't
Asparagus
plant
is
any.
about done, I think.
Yeah.
You get down to the little,
Pencil thin,
Pencil.
pencil lead thin.
that she's eaten a lot of asparagus.
I love asparagus.
I'm grown to kind of like asparagus too. And Brussels
Yeah,
sprouts.
but I
that's
know
it.
she likes it, so I don't.
Must be kind of old.
We don't have that much.
Maybe. Brussels sprouts.
I had them at this hole in the wall
Brussels sprouts
barbecue
good.
place in barbecue.
It's gotta be heavily flavored.
It was, but they were delicious.
What's that?
I was just telling you, I had these Brussels sprouts at this hole in the wall barbecue place in DC. And they were really good.
Yeah.
They had different types of flavors.
You know, some restaurants really do them well.
Yeah.
I've had some that were amazing like that as well.
So when are we doing our RHID?
I will talk briefly about it, on my
Oh,
admin
you're
session.
thinking, oh, okay, all right. Oh, yeah, I see that.
Yeah, 10:50. We'll get some direction.
I'll apologize in advance too. I have some thoughts.
I'll probably leave that one for the last part, that discussion. That
Okay.
time.
This is gonna be interesting.
I have some other words, but I won't use them.
All right, okay, Diane.
Hold on one second.
Public health.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Need to make a
Thank you.
motion.
That's okay.
Need to make a
All right.
motion to recess as the Board of County Commissioners and then reconvene as the Board of County Health.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded to recess of the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Board of Health. All in favor?
I,
Good morning, Commissioners. Diane Krieg, Health Director. I am bringing to you another MOU with Maryville University out of St. Louis. And this is for an APRN to work with our APRN and do her internship. The MOU, just kind of clarifies what they're responsible for, what we're responsible for. I've sent this through our county counselor and they've approved it, so I would ask for you to approve this.
But it's a university in St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to get internships.
This isn't the one that got hit by the tornado, was it?
I think they're a little further west.
Oh, okay.
Further west. That was pretty spotty.
Mhm.
Tornado, well, it's tornadoes.
Did you see the video
Like
of people that
most-
were up in the arch when that happened?
Really
Yeah, it was
That'd be
crazy.
scary.
That thing moves anyway.
I know.
Yeah.
Imagine going like this, and like this.
Oh, goodness.
Working, man.
Yeah.
Stress test. There you go.
Like people on that ship that crashed into the bridge on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
Anyway.
yeah. Go ahead and make a motion to approve the MOU so that Riley County Health Department can provide an internship experience for the students from Maryville University in St. Louis, Missouri.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve the MOU so that Riley County Health Department can provide internship experience for students from Maryville University in St. Louis, Missouri. All in favor?
Aye.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Who signs this?
Gonna make a motion.
Well,
Oh, we
Get
don't have
out
to
of
sign
it.
anything yet?
Brent,
Oh, okay.
Brent,
I'll
you
go ahead
don't
and make
have
a
to do-
motion that we recess as the Board of County Health and reconvene as the Board of County Commission.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded to recess as the Board of Health and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. All in favor?
Aye. He doesn't have to sign that.
No,
all
I
printed.
don't have anything for him to sign. so-
It's all printed on there. That's kind of.
Well, I think she's asking for the motion and then it'll probably show up in the business meeting. That's right. Okay.
Is that what it is? Okay.
What do we have next? We have executive 10:30 commissioners.
I was looking for.
Times at 11. Been a fairly long morning this morning. Better than some of those budget days, but it's a long morning.
We have a 4-day week. We're not here Monday. And I started extra early with breakfast this morning.
Yeah. That was a good turnout.
Yeah, I figured it would be.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was good.
Huh?
Yeah. We had people from Topeka talking about the, was it the ET in.
Yeah. I always kept thinking it's PK because there's a PKM season at the Salina.
Mhm.
This is PTKN or something.
It's named after the first names of all the founders of the company, so it's abbreviation, but gotta learn how to get it right, I suppose. PTMW,
M or N?
M as in Mary.
M.
PKM. All by. What's it? Yeah.
Well, VHS was that, right? Oh, yeah, buddy.
Burrell, Hoover and Sloan.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I
Sloan's the
remember
only one left in it.
They used to meet once a week.
Davies.
Yes.
Kennedy's claim.
Kennedy's claim, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I
They
remember
meet
that.
all the time.
And they made a pretty good steak. Are we gonna do video after meeting?
Yes,
Okay,
I'm here
okay.
forever. So,
I figure I'll just do Mondays and then next Thursdays I'll do today's. It took me a minute to figure that out too.
I wondered if we would just do both today, but you need something even Monday.
Yeah, Thursday.
Yes, Thursday. Yeah, let's.
You can come in on Monday if you want, but I'm not going to.
Just stand there and wait for it.
Yeah.
So.
I remember those old commercials. I don't remember the store though, that open.
So this might be a good time to tell my dad joke.
Oh, please do. I need some fresh material.
Uh-oh.
Don't understand why cemeteries keep charging extra costs for funerals and blaming it on the cost of living.
Not bad, not bad.
That might be a sensitive topic at my house though, because Alfonso's been working on that master plan.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
We'll see. I'll tell you how he reacts.
Okay.
All right, up to the cemetery.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that on Monday too.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I head up,
I've had him in my car for at least 2
I head to
weeks.
the veterans cemetery ceremony and then up on Fort Riley on Monday.
Is that,
The
okay.
one at
Which-
Fort Riley, because there's also one
Doing
there
both.
behind the airport.
Yeah, I'm
Are
doing
they not at the
both.
same time?
No, the one at the veteran cemetery is at 10 and the other one's at 11:40. They always do it.
Oh.
Okay, 11:40, yeah, because I'm gonna be here, so.
It's got either today or tomorrow go up and pick up my pass.
Oh, I don't have.
Because I'm not gonna be able to do it on Monday.
Do that. Shit, I was right there yesterday.
I haven't been over there here lately. That's the reason why I haven't.
Do you guys get like a year-long pass or?
Yeah.
They renew them in April, because I went in like July, and I thought it was July to July, no, back to April.
Yeah, when I did, I actually went in July originally, got it, and it was for 2 years, and then they changed the setup on it, so it has to be yearly now, and
Yearly,
it ended in April, so they started it in April.
Yeah.
Christian Bishop is a good one to help with that. Is that who you work for?
Actually, it's Janet Nichols who used to be in her spot, yeah,
Yeah, that's.
but I can refer to Christian, and Chris, that's who Christian's gonna refer to.
She said it'd be under either Nichols or somebody else.
Yeah, I always forget the sponsor, it has to be high level,
Service, yeah.
colonel from the
Christian said,
hospital.
well, Christian said Janet, you say Janet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I did last year is I just took had my old one,
Yeah,
and they were just able to piece it together,
Oh,
and, yeah.
when I went up there, they said, who's your sponsors?
Yeah, that's
Doc.
what I thought. Well, it was, Colonel Rowe the first time, but, he's not here anymore, so.
Got another one? Yeah, I guess there's two there. Great.
Do we actually need to make a motion to put another executive session on at the end? We didn't really do that.
I don't think you necessarily
You know,
have.
you're not required by law, I can tell you that, but whether or not procedurally you guys want to do that, that's up to
But it's at the end, it doesn't affect it.
No.
You got the rest of the schedule.
Would you do that one, like we do the law board meetings that you adjourn after, or do we come in and out? Again, and say, I guess whether action will be or not be taken?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And adjourn after that.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it's on your radar. We have another one coming up right at the end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with 3.
What?
Clancy would be proud.
Oh, nice.
Too long. I'll move the county commissioners, including Chairman McKinley, Vice Chair Foki, and Commissioner Ford with Jacob Hansen, interim county counselor, attorney for the commission, and Elizabeth Ward, Human Resource Director, recess into executive session on a performance matter of non-elected personnel, an exception to the Kansas Open Meetings Act for the purpose of discussing the work conditions of an employee and to protect the privacy of the employee. The open meeting to resume in the commission chamber at 10:50 a.m.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded for the county commission to recess into executive session for reasons previously stated under the performance matter of non-elected personnel exception to the Kansas Open Meeting Act. All in favor?
Aye.
Box. And the meeting is live.
The Board of County Commissioners come out of executive session.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded, the Board of County Commissioners come out of executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Also move that the record reflect action shall be taken consistent with the consensus reached in executive session.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded, the record reflect action shall be taken consistent with the consensus reached in executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Take off.
All right, Jacob Hansen, interim county counselor, here on my admin time. One thing I want to bring up before we get to our just kind of recap of the RHID task force discussion. The one thing I wanted to bring up is that I spoke with Mike Rescala over there at Pawnee Mental Health Services. If you'll recall, we had a discussion on the term for the Claflin lease. He suggested 25 years as a lease term as opposed to what we had as 20. So I wanted to bring that up and see if you guys had a consensus for me to go ahead and get that on the business change. Why the change? From 20 to 25. This would just be my assumptions from talking with him. I don't know if he gave an explicit reason why I talked, but my assumption would just be that considering they're making significant investment and well, at least the structure, the parking lot, I know they're doing a lot of, going to plan on doing a lot of work. And basically their idea is that they're investing quite a lot into the space. So they want to have a long-term lease.
Better than the lifetime.
Yeah.
100 years.
I don't think the building's gonna last that
Oh.
long.
I don't know about 25 even.
I'm kind of curious on that too.
Sure.
Okay,
So,
I can live with it. I was just curious if there's a reason.
yeah. Okay, great. Well, then I will put that together and get signatures and submit that for a business item agenda here shortly.
Do you guys agree by consensus on the 25?
Great. All right, and as far as is there any other matters you guys would like to ask me about prior to getting into the RHID discussion?
I wish I could find one.
Okay. Well, on that note, then we'll just kind of dive into it. Really, I want to just give you guys a breakdown of the discussion that the task group had the other week with myself and Commissioner Ford present, and I believe Amanda was too from our office, and Vivian was there taking notes as well. So basically, I'll just give you guys kind of a top-down version of what we talked about. One of the first things discussed was, you know, what do the participants hope to gain from having these discussions? And there was a fairly wide range of opinions on that. We had, you know, of course, looking for perspective to set expectations, to develop dialogue and a joint process so developers can, you know, have set expectations from all parties when they do this or when they go through this RHID process. There was also the, you know, to educate the public on what RHID is, what the implications are, and what kind of the results would end up with. So I think there was also some really good discussion on maybe utilizing some incentives or programs outside of just RHID. It seemed that there was a desire to talk about that within the RHID task group itself. And then I think the main discussion, or at least when we came to, you know, what of our policies and how that kind of may or may not conflict with the city's goals, really kind of came down to the area median income and what we determine is affordable versus what they do. And of course, that's in ours, we set it appropriate to HUD, which HUD has it at 60 to 80% of the area median income is considered affordable, while the city's range is 60 to 120%. So that's kind of the stark difference, at least that I was able to pull from the discussion, and where there might be the most perhaps disagreements or just a different way to look at things. One of the other kind of takeaways towards the end of the discussion was, of course, the talk of developing a joint process between the counties and the cities. I think kind of something that's important for us specifically to take into account is that these RHIDs are likely not to just be within the city of Manhattan. They're likely going to come to a lot smaller communities. So when and if we decide to continue these conversations in the RHID task force, that's something that we're going to probably want to highlight and bring up. Overall, what I'm asking for the board today and bringing this up during the admin time is that, do you guys want to continue conversations in this RHID task force concept? You know, you guys can direct us whether or not to continue those conversations, or if you guys don't think that is needed.
You were
I'm
there.
kind of curious. Yeah, I mean, if we can come to some kind of common ground, I mean, if anything else, for those that may want to fill out an application, they know basically what to expect, if it's doable, not doable, so on and so forth. I think that's a fair assessment moving forward. In terms of how a streamlined process or a policy will look, I don't know on that, but I did realize that I couldn't just make that decision by myself, so I wanted to make sure that at least we were comfortable with that moving forward before allowing staff to work with other staffs to come to that conclusion.
Well, is the task, or did they decide they were gonna come up with basic solutions to the problems, or just recommendations, or what?
It'll
What was
probably
the
be
purpose?
recommendations, and that the task force itself would then sign off on, and then each governing entity would then probably have to sign off on them.
Right.
To make them legit.
Right.
We're far apart as far as the time frame of the tax abatements and also the
Median
income.
income,
Yeah, that would seem to
Two
be the
things.
larger of the discussion there, and kind of going back through our policy, I had a few more thoughts on some additions, at least in the meantime, but outside of that, do we continue that discussion or do we not?
We can continue. I was told that the school board's policy, did you go over that there too, I assume?
No, I don't know if they
No.
have a specific policy.
I didn't think they referred to one.
Yeah, I don't think they've developed a quote unquote policy.
Oh,
I think
okay.
they're looking at it as more of a internal workforce tool for teachers, for paraprofessionals, and just their employees in general, whether or not that's a good fit for them or not is kind of the conversation I've got.
Yeah.
If you want to say that that's in theory or in vision is a policy, then I guess that would be the case, but there's nothing structured in place for that. And I think
Judging on
she's-
emails I've got, there's a wide variety of opinions
There
within the
is.
school board.
Certainly. You know, that's one thing you guys can direct, you know, us and staff to do is, if there's a particular goal you guys are wanting out of this, or kind of a mandate out of the discussions, you know, tell us, and, you know, we can make sure to highlight that point when we have these discussions.
Well, we have a policy, you know, that we went over and over and over with and to develop, so I don't know. I don't think there's wiggle room in that, but I don't know how
Yeah.
the other ones can adapt to it.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
the nice thing about our policy too is that, you know, what the way it's drafted is it's always a may, and I've, you know, explained that before, is nothing within this is requiring the board to have to either say yes or no on a policy.
Yeah.
So it does provide very good flexibility in that regard. I know some of the criticisms, of course, is what we put in there. It seems to maybe make some developers gun shy as far as RHID applications. That's just one of the criticisms I hear.
Be a chance of being worthwhile. Go ahead.
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
I'm not convinced, but you want to give it a try.
then, okay, I got.
I think at this point in time, after the conversation, I'm curious. I'm gonna say hopeful.
And nothing's
but
gonna be
curious.
done before this.
Yeah, no, I think the way the scheduling was that we're, I think, a month out, but probably before we'd have the next discussion, I think.
We'll have the discussion on this one before that.
Yep, we'll have to get that situated and And as long as, so just so I'm clear, we have consensus to go ahead and continue those discussions. Okay. All right, and then I guess also, of course, talk about a little bit about the one that we have presently before us. You guys are, I'm sure, acutely aware that on May 20th, they didn't have their public hearing on this RHID. So that kicks in our 30-day veto session. That would put it, I believe, on June 19th, which is of course Juneteenth, and that. So unless we want to call a special session, that would mean June 16th is what we need to pass a resolution. If, of course, the board decides they want to pass a resolution.
Well, I'd like to
I'm-
do it earlier, maybe do it on the 9th or something. So if we do, if we don't get all our questions answered, we still got time to look at it again.
Yeah,
I just think, so we have a little, rather than the deadline, you got to make a decision today or else.
right.
If we have it the week before, we can have a chance to.
Sure. I think that would put us,
I'm gone on the 16th.
You're going on. the
Yeah,
16th.
16th, well, I'm 15th.
I was thinking the opposite,
22nd,
give us
so.
plenty of time to have all those questions answered and then do it at the end. I don't matter to me. We got to do it at one way, at one point or the other.
Well, like I say,
Yeah, I'm
sometimes
gonna
we-
hear-
Technically, no, actually, we
Here
don't,
the
but
week
I do
before.
believe that we should, so.
but I just, like I said, that's what I think. Sure. Well, and maybe even earlier than that, if you think to set, have them make the presentation, we can come up with
yeah,
questions.
whatever you
If
guys,
there's- But I think. I would assume they'd be able to answer our questions, at meetings.
I can go talk with, I know Tyler at Frontier and then Gavin. And we can schedule some time for, I'm sure, for them to come in and answer any questions that you guys might
Like I said,
have.
I'm looking at either the 5th or the 9th. be my
5th or the
guess.
9th?
Ninth would probably be good.
On 13th, 12th too, so.
All right, well, I'll work with them and get that on the schedule with Cindy.
And I had a couple other things too. I'm kind of hearing through the grapevine that, of course, this is an application process that can go through a municipality and or the county itself. And I am hearing that there may be several rural projects that may come up, so
Mhm.
it's led me to believe that we need to develop not only just a policy, but an actual process for those applications, if and when they do happen. And we currently have not discussed that. And we haven't put anything together, so my thought would be to put an internal committee together to develop how we need to go about that, because in all fairness, when somebody does put in an application, we need to have a process that works in order to do much like the city has done for the first two so far. And,
Yeah.
Don't we have that in that we developed a certain time? Is there a time period in there? Is it a reasonable time or what did it say? I don't recall.
Reasonable time for what I'm
To
sorry.
review the projects or at the beginning or.
if somebody fills out an application for the county,
Okay.
we'd have to go through a similar process as the city has done, meeting all those steps and including the state and then including the other entities, including whatever city
Putting
and
together.
school district would be involved in that at that particular.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like putting together a development agreement and kind of work with them on finance and how things will work.
And when a project comes before us, it probably come before each entity at the same time, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, that was something that was actually kind of brought up and discussed. I don't know if that fits in all those steps per se. I mean, you might be able to do that up at the front or something. But I still think whatever application is made, you have to deal with that entity individually and then go through each separate. This whole thing's confusing, isn't it, Stephanie?
We had some of that stuff. We had some of that written in our policy. I don't have any.
No.
Well, we had, and what you may be thinking of, Commissioner Cook, is that we, in our policy, we say, we need to be notified basically as soon as is reasonable, or else that's going to be kind of a ding against you in
Yeah.
determining whether or not we approve the application.
Okay, that's what.
That's what you're probably thinking of, but I
Yeah.
think what John is suggesting is that we need, if we were to be in the city's shoes and receive an RHID application, we need to put something out there to show the process of how we'll handle it once we receive it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very well explained.
That's good.
And I think in that committee, I know me and John talked about it briefly, but we were just thinking, of course, including Amanda in planning development, John and Evan over in public works. Just because usually when you're talking about county RHID, usually that's going to involve infrastructure costs typically. And then, of course, Brittany as well. So that's who the folks we would like to have, I think.
Well, I mentioned adding one commissioner on there too.
And with the budget and planning committee in the past,
Yeah.
all of these things have gone through the budget and planning committee, which involves all of those except for commissioner, but commissioners of.
I think on this one, just because it's so deep
Task
in
force,
policy, it would probably be a good idea, and I'm not it.
Well, I would sit
That
on,
was quick.
I'm not there.
I would be happy to sit on. it
Okay.
too.
Sounds good. Make a note.
Someone's good, I don't have that practice.
Yeah, you can figure out everybody's schedule and make that work, but I think it's appropriate to make sure we have a professional procedure in place to handle these, if and when they do come, and they might not, I don't know. Might all be rumor at this point in time, but
Happy to answer any other questions you guys may have. I know, like I said, what I'm taking away from this, of course, is that I'm gonna work with our developer friends and getting a time on, I believe, what was it, June 5th or 9th? Around there, have them answer some questions that you guys will have. And then immediately following that, I can make sure we have a resolution at least available to be considered during those discussions. So that way, if you guys feel like you're ready to make a decision, you can.
Even if I'm gone, I can be really quick at home, so.
All right.
Yep. Good.
Yeah, Brian Pete at 11:10. Morning, Brian, how you doing?
Morning. 3 minutes.
It's fun stuff too.
Mhm. You can still get others on here too today if you want.
No.
I got. Was there, I think it's.
Those are
What
public
paper?
records, they're just a matter of,
That's their
just so you have them on hand.
They have
Prairie Falls.
Okay,
And then-
okay.
This is the most recent contract I could find for you with this. The Prairie Falls Sheriff. This is
Okay.
City's agreement.
And again, for the record, commissioners, that these are public records, are already out there for the public. They're just copies so that you have them on hand, they're the
I
contracts.
said there's an amendment, but that has not been.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Prairie Falls. Oh,
No
sorry.
problem. Go.
That's true.
Thank you.
This is. let's see. I'm so sorry. I just know that. Okay. Oh, yeah. I'm like. Well, listen, for we have one from Mars too. I guess the county.
Good morning, members of the county commission, Mr. Vargo, members of, I'm sorry, employee and staff, members of the public. My name is Brian Pete. I'm the director of the Riley County Police Department. And today I just wanted to, I'm grateful that I was able to get on the agenda to talk with you, give you informational updates as regards to RCPD's potential absorption of the Animal Control Officer program. I don't want to take up too much of the time yapping my mouth off. Just primarily just giving you some basic summary information and then open myself up to obviously any questions that the county may have of me. The first one I wanted to say is, again, I want to put out as much information as I can to as many parties that are involved in this, because I don't want to be blamed. I'm just going to be blunt that someone did not tell me this. I did not know this before this decision was made. So any information that I have, I will give it to you as much as whatever I've learned throughout the process. The second thing is I want to stress that I particularly am going to be diligent in representing the interests of the Riley County Police Department, letting that be known. With that being said, we have no issues taking over the ACO function. We've planned for it. I've done this before, looking forward to it. I think that the Riley County Police Department would be able to provide an exceptional service to the members of our community, the same that we do in law enforcement. So but I can only do what I am told, whether through the law board, and then there is also especially an aspect of control of this and decision that has to come from the county. So all I'm here to just say is that we have planned for it positively. We're ready for it, but I just want to make sure all the information is out there so that you all can make this decision, because it is not my decision to make. The third thing is just a very, very brief history of the RCOs. I'm sorry, of the ACOs, looking at the program. Now, several years back, they were, I believe, moving through certain elements within the city, but I'm not sure about that. But I know that currently they are with the Manhattan Fire Department under Chief French. Prior to that, they were with the Parks and Recreation. I know under Chief French, they have, he has done made a lot of ground as far as what their policies are, their procedures are, what their daily operations are. So he is beginning to flush out and specify some of the things. So when we had questions, so Major Asher is in the audience, Deputy Director Friedline is there, and Major Asher has been tasked to take over the ACO programs once/if they come over to the RCPD. So again, we have been doing our diligence and doing our work to make this thing happen. But so Major Asher he may be able to answer any specific questions as I finish that you may have. But I want to say that Chief French, again, has been very cooperative, very upfront, just a very strong leader in giving us as much information as we can and helping us to try to figure out if there are going to be any unintended or unknown costs or consequences from us taking over the ACO program. So foremost, especially where it comes into the county, there may be some likely facility needs that may come with this. The first is looking at office space. I don't have to go back and explain to you guys where we are as far as office space is concerned, but the best place that we can there are two potential spaces that we've identified that can do this. That's going to be absorbing a conference room that we have out in the lobby area. So when we do interviews, whether somebody's has a very sensitive topic that they want to discuss, we have that interview room there. But we would probably absorb that interview room, and then we could put in a potential office space for roughly 2 people that they will have someplace other than their vehicles to be at. Or we would go downstairs and remove half of the inventory that we have for our uniform supply and put them right there where our servers are, currently right next to our IT, where Ed is at downstairs in the basement. So those are the only spots that we can move them to. And an estimated cost of doing that would be, depending on if it's downstairs or depending on if it's upstairs, we're looking at about $120,000 to do that movement, especially if we absorb the area from the in the lobby. Operational requirements we have given initially, we have in the memorandum that I gave you, it has a spell out of what each line items are that we're projecting. There are some line items that the city has, keeping in mind that Chief French is only looking at it from an operational point. So when we ask about things like how much have they been spending in gas, what type of maintenance issues, those things are farmed out to different divisions within the city. So with us, we can track everything directly, but that information is in other places to get out and move. So looking at that, we've kept the formulas there, but there are other things that we think, and I'll discuss, that we may need to increase those line items. But in some cases, we've looked at them and then we said, okay, we think that this is going to be actually this type of a cost. Because again, if something happens, I'm just going to be blunt. And if I say, well, this is going on with the ACO program, we didn't anticipate this. And if I come to you, you're going to say, who controls the ACO program? Find it in your budget. If I go to the city's going to say, you control the ACO program, find it in your budget. And then so money I would otherwise use to pay for officers, dispatchers, corrections officers, equipment, now I'm going to be using that to pay for the service that we've inherited. So that's why I say, again, I'm not downplaying, I'm not bad mouthing it, I'm ready to take it. I just want to do it in a way that it's not going to affect my current budget. So in the event, so right now we believe 3 ACOs would be a fairly good starting point. But you know how it goes. Sometimes if you build it, it will come. And in the event that we find that numbers are going higher, that we may require a 4th ACO to do work. Again, that'll be an 80-20 county split. And the cost to add an additional ACO with salary and benefits would be about $63,328.66. And again, we've gone off of, yes,
Is that just salary or is that benefits and salary?
benefits and salary.
Okay.
Okay, what was that number again? I'm sorry.
$63,300 for the most part. $330.
Total
Yes, for the 4th ACO.
for the 4th, only the 4th.
And that's in the event that if we would need a 4th ACO. We're waiting to hear back from our insurance provider about how much more, if there will be an effect on our insurance, on our liability insurance. So still waiting for that. Auto insurance, those different things we factored into, keeping in mind that you may look at, well, here's the budget that they have for the ACOs. We just walk it over from Manhattan to the Riley County Police Department, but that budget's not going to include what they've been paying for auto insurance per vehicle, per maintenance, per thing. So that's why you may see our budget more inflated than what theirs is, because we're adding in those operational associated costs. And then again, equipment and storage solutions, I don't know. We could use the Morton building out back, and that's what we're kind of planning for storage. So that one I'm not necessarily concerned about. And then what I'm not advertising is, again, parking space and where we're going to have the employees' vehicles and the vehicles for the ACOs, or if we use them as take-home vehicles. There's a lot of different things that I think we can figure out internally, but those are internal issues for us to worry about, not for you or for the city. So I need guidance from you. I need guidance from the law board. Because these issues directly will reflect or affect our budget. And as you know, next week is pretty much the last day in which the law board has to make a determination regarding the budget. So the first thing is an internal holding policy. And this is where I need your guidance, because there is an effect to it, because it's a facility related issue. Now, the city's looking into potential areas where we can do this, but backing up, there's a temporary holding policy that the city has implemented. So Chief French has done an outstanding job. So if someone calls and says, Mr. Ellerman calls and says, hey, there's a cat out here, there's a dog out here running around. ACOs go out there, they find the animal, they're going to hold on to rather than just taking it directly to the shelter. Because if they did that, then the shelter is going to any storage fees, registration fees, anything that's associated with holding on to that animal until the owner can be found is going to be translated over to the member of our community, to the citizens. So what Chief French has done is kind of had an internal policy that he has his ACOs go out and try to identify who the owner of this person is, whether it's Facebook, whether it's if there's a number, a tag, or going canvassing the neighborhood saying, hey, do you know about this animal? So on an average, that could be anywhere between 1-2 hours, and maybe in other cases, 4 hours. So in some cases, they're able to keep the animal in their vehicle while they're trying to find out who the owner is. Other cases, they may need to put the animal in temporary storage in a kennel someplace until they can identify the owner. They have a very high success rate, 46% of the animals that they found, they were able to reconnect them with their owners, and that's a very good thing for members of our community. Thanks to so our issue is, do we continue that type of service? And if we do, it's going to mean that we have to create a temporary storage facility for ourselves. It has to be ventilated, controlled, and we have to have an individual there to monitor the animals. Now, have been initially looking at how do we reach out to vets to see if we can partner with vets or foster folks, because we're trying to make this work without making money, but there aren't going to be many vets that are willing to accept an animal that may have kennel cough or rabies or anything else like that. They don't know the medical history of. And then if we keep it, I can't put it in the hallway. I can't have the dispatchers watch it. I can't have the records folks watch it. I have to, and the fire department's fortunate in that they may have staff where those temporary kennels are kept. I don't have that luxury. And then the only place I can put them in potentially is in that Morton shed, and to have an area built out that's going to be ventilated, environmentally controlled, is going to run about $200,000. So I would just say that if no such area is built, and I know that the city is vigorously looking at potential ways in which we can partner, or they can find somebody to do this temporary storage if needed. I mean, if this is the route we want to go, how that would work. But I would also recommend that MOA in agreement with that, because you know how it works. I'll do it, and then 6 months later, I can't do it. I thought I could. So again, I'm here to advocate for my department, but I'm also here to tell you I can do this job. I just want to make sure it's done correctly. Then there's another issue with medical line items. Now, we've had conversations with Prairie Paws, and then in my experience within the shelter, there's a liability issue that I have a concern with. So that same animal, that it's Mr. Elliman's dog. This time, instead of us finding it doing well, it's struck by a vehicle. And ACO's
You
reply.
just can't catch a break, can you, John?
And then the ACOs respond, they take the dog, and they're okay, we have to bring the animal to the shelter. The shelter will not accept an obviously sick or an injured animal. So at that point, we're going to have to partner, which the city does have a very, very good contract with a local veterinarian, and partner with that vet and say, hey, we have an animal. Can you do the x-rays and can you do the operation? Well, they're going to say, okay, great. $900 to do everything that's involved. Well, the current line item is $5,000. Yes, $5,000 to cover those medical costs. So say this happens in January. Now we've dropped $900 for the first animal, and now the animal's healthy. After surgery, it's stabilized. We're able to take it to the shelter, and now we can say, okay, whose animal is this? And then there becomes the conversation of who has to pay for what that bill is. Do you recoup costs or anything else to that effect? But the line item is currently $5,000. So once we've exceeded that line item, there may be a time in which I say, well, I cannot afford to take this animal and get this animal veterinary services unless I take it out of my budget. And if I don't, then the animal has to be euthanized. We'll say that the family is out of town, and now they come back in town and say, hey, did you see my animal? Oh yeah, I did. Unfortunately, we had to euthanize it because it's not in my budget to pay for $800 to get this or that done. There are liability considerations. So anytime, even with us, when just for example, we did a search, and we had to unfortunately cut somebody's watch band. We have to pay for that. That's a $60. That was $60 that we had to pay for. So again, we can do this. And I think that thus far, I'm not sure, but that budget has worked for them. But when I look at absorbing the county itself, that's a potential line item that may have to be increased. So just putting that out there, and we are ready to do this. I just want to make sure it's done correctly. Yes, sir.
If I may, just a question on, I know you're talking about a lot of like these internal policies that the city has. Has a lot of those been communicated to you yet, as far as how they would evaluate, does this animal need to go to the vet or not? How much of a discussion they have?
How do they pay for it?
Major Asher will come up. And Captain, our Major French has been, our Chief French has been very, very, very helpful.
So I spoke with Chief French about, did he have policies in place written about exactly how they made that determination? They do not. So essentially, they have a $5,000 line item budget. They will with their contract vet, they will take the animal there. If the price is over $200, Chief French will make a determination whether they're going to provide those services or not. And that could be all the way up into euthanizing the animal. When speaking with Prairie Paws, they believe that a city our size or for the county should be somewhere around $10,000 to $12,000. And they did that based off for a line item based off of our populace on other contracts that they have in other cities that they support.
And that's also in keeping in mind, again, we're trying to find ways to say yes and make this happen. The biggest concern, I think, for everybody is going to be the fiscal part of it. So Major Asher has been working with the Manhattan Kennel Association, the Manhattan Kennel Club. We're looking at how do we see if we could form 501c3s and have partnerships with vets and with other folks to look at what potential donations from the public that we can use to augment any costs that are related to the ACOs. But then again, there comes another potential funding mechanism issue that I'll bring up here in a second. So yes, so I don't know if that answers my question. Thank you, sir. So in addition to, so I say that, so you have the contracts in front of you. So I am looking at, those are like the little things that you don't necessarily think of. It's nobody's fault, but you kind of don't necessarily think of when you're trying to transfer them over. So we're still making sure we've got all our I's dotted and T's crossed through the contracts. I don't think there's anything else there for us, but I'm still looking through those contracts to see if there are going to be any other issues. So any planning and consideration factors. So we will, and Major Asher is ready to continue coordinating with the county as necessary, with the municipalities within the county on animal control ordinances, what to adopt. So those are things that we can help write with them, with our retained counsel, and then bring them to Jacob. And then, so that's to me is not an issue. Memorandum of agreements, as I mentioned, that protect our budget, that we're not using money for public service or an animal control thing, or how would we be reimbursed? So over the first, especially including potential of adding a fourth ACO. So I would ask my law board to put a clause in there saying that if there were other significant costs, maybe even over a certain amount, that we could look at how do we get an 80-20 back from the county and from the city to cover that cost. Memorandums of agreement between the board, the county, the city on shelter-related expenses, upgrades, increases, improvements, etc. That's going to be something I can't do. That's going to have to be a discussion, again, between the city and county, and we can help facilitate that as needed. We would, again, I would recommend that any memorandum of agreement contains a clause that designates what happens in the event that Prairie Paws, for any reason, goes defunct, no longer wants to carry the contract, who will be responsible? Will you all say, well, you have ACOs, Brian, you figure out how to deal with that $350,000 in your budget. I'm trying to avoid that. All right. So I'd like to have that spelled out, because again, I know the honor and the integrity of this board. I know the honor and integrity of the city board. But what happens if 6 years from now, there are new players who have no stake in the game, or like, I wasn't part of that deal, you deal with it. So then the other part of it is the MOA, who collects any proceeds that come from this? Registration, citations, does my department get it? Do you get it? Do we get it and then give it to you? I mean, how does it work? But also with that same token, I'm getting beat up. I always get beat up about, but that's what I get paid for. But a lot of questions and concerns about the Riley County Police Department are already accepting of the lion's share, if you will, of mill levies. ACO functions will now become mill levies because we can only be funded through property taxes. So that's something that's a political, I would be remiss if I did not remind you, because I'm being reminded of it every other day by somebody in the community. So just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. So with that being said, the Riley County Police Department has done as much as we could to try, and we're ready to facilitate this. I have no issues with taking it. I'm hoping to take it. I think that, again, this will help us provide a valuable community service. And I honestly, sincerely mean that, but these decisions are out of my hands. I've gone as far as I can go. I can't make any further decisions. Our budget is next week. That's the law board, of course, can always say, we're approving a budget higher, and then at the end of the day, go lower. So I would make any recommendations to the county respectfully, or ask if this budget, or that when we accept the ACOs, that we bake in a little bit more money for that. And then the board itself can always say, okay, well, we baked in an extra $30,000. We're going to reduce it because now, after we've done all our homework, had all of our meetings with the city, Prairie Paws, and everyone else, we realized that it's way not as bad as we thought, or, that those are knee-jerk reactions. And then so finally, again, I would just recommend that the county consider having meetings with the law board, with the city, with Prairie Paws, and then defining MOUs that are applicable, again, so that our law board can approve it. You tell us what you want us to do and we do it. Outside of that, I stand ready for any questions you may have.
That thing, the one about building a holding place, I have trouble with that. I think, like I said, they can keep them in their vehicles. I'm sure there's time limit. You can keep them that long. They don't find something, go. I don't want to build a $200,000 palace for occasional use. It doesn't make sense to me. And then as far as, and I know you're concerned that what happens when the shelter closes, I think it needs to be somehow in the agreement with the city, or somehow saying that you're only responsible, and I don't know who would have to do it, whether it's law board, saying you're only responsible for ACOs if there's a shelter available. If there's no shelter available, it's not your problem. You can't do ACO if the city doesn't furnish a shelter. Someone doesn't show. I would say a shelter within the county, but we don't have one in the county. Within the vicinity.
We have to build a shelter. For 200,000, we could put up some sort of shelter.
And I understand that, and we're looking at, again, we are trying to find ways to say yes to make this happen. So even if it includes trying to find community partners that would volunteer to do for us to foster the animal, anything, anyway. But my concern is that the city has already grown accustomed to a service and to a level of service that if we remove that aspect of it,
I'm sorry, they're the ones shoving it down everybody's throat. They can deal with it, quite honestly. I mean, I'm gonna ask a serious question. What is your agency really responsible for, Director?
We're responsible for public safety within the community of the county.
Okay, law enforcement, correct?
Yes.
So why are we having this conversation?
The city has approached us, back
They
in
haven't
2023, has asked or made the recommendation to the commission that we look at potentially absorb the ACO function. We enter in with discussions with them, initial discussions. And again, like, as I mentioned before, I look for ways to try to find a way to say yes. I can say yes, but I want to make sure that the interests of the department are fiscally and liability taken care of.
Yeah.
So I'm here to
I've
tell
just
you.
listened for 25 minutes to where realistically, that's not possible with this. It's not possible. And it's not because you haven't done your due diligence. It's just not possible. That's why the city's trying to do what they're trying to do.
Trying to shift
I mean, you got to also remember here, we're paying 20% of that administrative cost for 3 or 4 and all the other services that go with it. And then eventually we're going to be stuck with the with the facilities costs. And right now, the facility that we're using, it's not even our own damn county.
If I may, that these, we always have to plan, especially fiscally, for the worst case scenario. So what I'm kind of giving you is not necessarily the worst case scenario, but it's not out of the realm of
No,
the
I would say
possibility.
that's actually reality. It's not the
Well,
worst case scenario.
But there are other ways in which we can look to try to offset those costs. We just need to understand where the city and the county are willing to go as far as what is in the MOU or as far as what the daily operations are, so we can continue moving forward to try to find ways to cut costs. Otherwise, a blanket thing is just making this assumption that if nothing else is done, these would be the costs. But if we're able to find out exactly what the city's looking to do, what the county's looking to do, what everyone understands their responsibilities to be, that's more direct for us, that we can begin to cut down on things that we're saying, okay, that's a worst case scenario. This is what we honestly.
So we're gonna cut down on the actual law enforcement side of things is what we should be doing in order to cover animal control. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just saying that if we're funded correctly, we can find ways outside, if we have a funding mechanism that covers, what ACOs could potentially cost, we can go out there again in the community and see if we can get donations, start a 501c3 or anything else like that, so that we're not commingling the ACO budget with the Riley County Police Department budget.
I wanted to bring up one point if I can, at least on the contractual MOU side of things. We start to get into interesting territory, especially when we're talking about the facility. There's standards in law where you can't necessarily make a contract that you're gonna make a contract. Right? Like that's not very enforceable. And we're starting to teetering towards that principle, I think, and trying to anticipate if the facility and if it were to go defunct or what we would need to do. There would be some unique issues.
Well, let's start off with the obvious here first. The shelter that we're actually providing the service with isn't actually in Riley County, but it's going to be subsidized by the citizens of another county.
Mm-hmm.
Legally, that's a struggle for me.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
And that's nobody's fault sitting here. That's just the reality of the scenario. So we're actually contracting services from a facility standpoint with a facility that's not even in our own county. I understand it's in the city, and the city's done what they've done, but when you add the county to that, that changes the whole dynamic of it. And I don't want my rural citizens paying for services in a facility that's not even in our own county. I'm sorry, I can't do that.
But that's not what he's doing. That's our agreement with Prairie Paws.
Right.
Because what we're talking about. with him
Until
doesn't have anything to do-
until it isn't.
Well, and when it isn't, like I said, we need to have some, and I don't know how, again, maybe it's not possible, right? I can say a contract, you just make it work. Something saying, telling them that they're not responsible for an animal shelter, and I don't know how that works, but just we need an agreement between the city and county and RSPD saying, if there's no shelter, we don't need an ACO.
Right.
That, and again, I don't want a $200,000 place for holding. They can hold them till however long they can hold them in a car, and if they don't find or the vehicles that they have, and if that doesn't work, because they don't have what are they doing with them now? You're sitting there keeping
They're
them because they don't have kennels at the fire department.
They have kennels, don't they, over there at the fire department?
Yeah, so currently, so they have their vehicles, they run their air conditioning for a set amount of time. And then they also have like just some small kennels, and they do put the dogs in there while they're trying to make their phone calls. If those dogs have been in that car, they usually say around 2 hours. They hold them as long as they can if they believe the animal is somebody's animal, because that's why their success rate is so high at 46%. When speaking with Prairie Paws, a lot of the return rates are around 6 to 8%. So, I mean, we're talking a large difference. And then, so if you are going to hold them less, then those animals would have to go somewhere, which would be Prairie Paws.
Right.
So I asked them, well, how many kennels down there do they have? They have 10 kennels. They can cut those kennels in half to make them 20. They do not like to do that because it restricts the animal so much then, but they can do that in a pinch.
Glad to turn it over to him, huh?
Well, I'm just-
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
But my biggest concern when viewing all this is that lease/contract that the city currently has that I presented to you.
Right.
And the reason why is because there's married in a lot of things. It's married in the lease of the building itself. It's married in the services provided. It's married in how long that they can provide it for. That current one ends at the end of 2026. Once that ends, there is nothing in place further. They can, my understanding of the contract is they have to give, I believe, 90 days notice to cancel the contract at any point, either party. So that could be canceled as well. So that is probably the biggest concern when I was looking at it, when I reported it to Director Pete and Deputy Director Friedline. What happens if we enter into an agreement where we're paying for the ACOs essentially? So we have the personnel and their properties in that, and then the Prairie Paws discontinues their agreement with the city. How does that function? Do we pick up that tab? Because then that's another 300 and I believe right now it's 358,000 because every year it's a 2.5% increase.
And those facilities over there are old. You know, they aren't, they aren't in really good shape.
1990s, I believe, was when the building was built. When speaking with them, they are currently going to update some of their facilities, but they have to piecemeal some of their kennels because they no longer make those kennels. So they will disassemble a kennel to fix kennels if they're broken. So they're attempting to gather funds to fix it because they are responsible for the maintenance on it. And they are in the process of updating some of their facilities and have updated some of their facilities. I think they do a really good job with the cats, because my understanding when they originally took over the shelter, there was a large amount of cats. They have cut that down. They do a lot of trap and release where they do spay and neuter the cats in the city, as well as chip them.
That normally drives down, and last place X, when we did that, that drove down the rates of that we've seen with stray animals significantly, somewhere in the areas the 60 to 70 or 80%. I'm just giving you information to make decisions. That's all. I'm not advocating for or against, but that's a helpful thing that we would anticipate would reduce any stray populations.
One other thing you guys might keep in mind as well, as far as timeline goes, is that it's my understanding that the city did a resolution transferring ACOs.
No, they
effective.
transferred. They just said, as of the end of this year, they
Yeah.
quit doing it.
Right.
And they've already passed the resolution.
Right.
They didn't pass it to anybody. They just said, it's not us.
So they got to stuck you with the problem, right?
We're ready to take on the responsibility.
I know,
We've been planning.
but it's a lot to consider, you know, especially, you know, facilities and all the, and
No, I'm not in
employee
favor of this
costs
at all.
and all
At
that.
all.
Mr. Barco had a. No.
I think you guys have been put in a precarious situation. I agree wholeheartedly with Commissioner Ford. I've agreed from the beginning that, you know, to me, I'm a huge supporter of RCPD, but it seems like you have your hands full of human control. I think you have enough to do, and
That was my original question.
the previous director and you, I think, at least agree on one thing, in that you already don't have enough administrative space with the function you do. And you're already telling us the bigger bind this is gonna put you in, and these guys are the ones that get to tell the taxpayers when they get to put a multi-million-dollar facility together, which you were starting to work on a month after your tenure here, because we are in dire needs, let alone the jail side. So I think you guys are in a precarious situation, and you are, and once again, the city didn't involve you guys from the very beginning, i.e. the county commissioners. And the facility issue is huge besides just your administrative space. And so you have done a great job of trying to make something work and look good that even as good as your presentation was, I didn't hear anything positive from the RCPD side or the county side. Not due to your presentation, you're trying to spin it really well, but I don't.
There's too many challenges within the service itself that I don't think any of us could get across or get around at some point in time. And it's not for lack of due diligence.
And while from the taxpayers, the budget monies go from the city to RCPD, we now carry 20% of that plus any addition. And so it's not just a simple switch over. And so I appreciate all the work that you've done. I know you've been getting beat up all over on it, but I don't think it's attractive at all from RCPD's perspective and the county's perspective.
If the city makes a resolution though to transfer it then to them, then if they say, no, we can't do it, then what happens?
I don't,
Does anybody know?
does the city have the legal ability to do that? And make them take it? I question.
No.
Absolutely.
You haven't
And in fact,
formally
I
accepted it,
suggested
right?
that we come up with our own resolution a non-support of both that action and the transfer of the service itself, just so it's on record. Yeah.
You haven't formally accepted their resolution, have you?
I can't, the law board has to
Okay.
accept that.
All right, they haven't, so.
I just wanted to make sure everyone had all the information that we've.
Yeah, we
gathered up to
appreciate
this
that.
point.
We really do appreciate that.
But again, and I apologize again about the timeline, but next Wednesday, we are having the final budget discussion related to this, and the ACO will be part of it to bring over what the city currently has budgeted over to the RCPD aspect of it, but the city has, but Chairman Mata has made it very clear he wants it a separation of what we're asking for and the separation of the ACO.
Yeah, I think.
That should
two
tell you
separate-
something right there in itself. Quite
That's
honestly.
Two separate discussions. That's my understanding too, but we're looking at your budget and then ACO separate.
That's It's all taxpayer funds and it's just.
If I may ask a question, is there any guidance or direction to me as it relates to, or request of me as it relates to diligence, shepherding, any additional meetings? What is it, if anything, that the commission would like to see from me? at this particular point?
I would like to see the agency not take that on. That's where I'm at.
On that message,
It's still the law board.
that message really needs to go to the law board. I mean, he can't make that
Right.
decision. The messages to the law board just say no, don't allow this to happen.
Well, we have the majority on the law board. Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't got the feel for what the law board thinks on this. We've tried to discuss this, we've spent more time on the budget than on this probably.
I think you guys are probably gonna be faster on the budget than.
Yeah.
We're still working to cut the budget as
Yeah.
well.
Well, you've done a really good job on this presentation. I'll say
Yeah.
that.
And
You
we're
really
not,
have.
No,
Outlining
it's
everything
business.
that goes
It's
into it.
business. It's
frustration from us.
No, and I totally get it, and I appreciate, that's what I get paid for. It's business. I'm here to give you rough information, to answer the tough questions. That's just, it is what it is. But I want to make sure I give you all of the information that I'm aware of. So a year from now, if I come back to you saying, hey, I should have told you about this, but I didn't. Then I'm out looking for my next.
Well, at least you're telling us something. There's other entities that don't say anything about it, but.
yeah, I do appreciate the information you brought to us today.
We stand ready to answer any other questions if Mr. Bargle or if
I
Jacob.
think the conversation centers around what direction we want to go at this point in time. I think if we're not in favor of this, we need to put something in place that shows that we're not in favor of this.
Sure.
And law board can deal
Exactly.
with that how as they will, but I'd like to see a resolution not in favor of this transition.
I would agree on that.
Would the board like to instruct Jacob to draft a letter from the board to the law board in the city? I mean, I think that's the
Yeah.
question you're asking, Commissioner.
Yeah, because we won't have it, we don't have a chance to review it, so I guess we don't have another
We'll
meeting.
have another meeting till Thursday.
Meeting Wednesday.
But you
Oh,
can,
okay.
you can pass it to each one of us separately.
And the chair sign it?
Yeah.
Just the chair sign it, that way it's easier.
You gonna be in town?
We've done that before.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
I apologize to interrupt the commission's discussion, just even saying it, there's also, we can also elect to do it, to do more footwork. And maybe a consideration for next year. I just want to put that out there as an option that we can continue to work with.
Okay. Duly noted.
All right. So what would you all like me to do?
I don't know, they've done a lot already. Takes away from their other duties. to
Yeah,
have
and
them
those
do
duties are more
footwork.
important to me than, and it's getting tougher and tougher as it is already. I think that needs to be the focus, but yeah, I'd like to see the letter resolution, however that's
Yeah,
supposed to work.
whichever, I mean, whatever the board wants on
Be a
that.
resolution or just a
Letter.
recommend,
A
just a
le-
letter.
a letter from the board.
Yeah.
A letter, just a letter to him saying
This is not a good idea.
that.
That you do
It
not
hasn't been
support. I
thought
mean,
out enough.
Huh?
that you do not support it.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to be clear in the letter.
You're good at drafting, so.
We don't
try to be.
support the ACOs going to the RCPD, basically. Due to the added costs and constraints.
Subcontract that with Mr. Holman for the letter because within his first month of employment, he almost created war with such strong letter to Pot County. He kind of joked about. So he's very good at being firm to the point.
See that.
I got my instructions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
How much time?
How much time do we want for the
I
discussion?
need to take a quick break.
Okay.
I gotta walk a little bit.
Somebody.
Well, I mean, I have a recommendation from what I know, so about 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
I mean, what else you want?
That, yeah, I mean, we could talk for 2 hours, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
Consensus with that, is that letter to go to the city and law board or just the law board?
City and law board.
That's what I thought. That's what I was putting, but I wanted to be sure we were all on the same
Yeah.
page.
I ended up with a lot of paper today.
Yeah, we got quite a book today.
No, not 12:15 AM.
12:15 AM.
Yeah, no.
We'd
Do
have
we
to get
wanna
some
be
snacks.
super detailed? in
Yeah, we will need some
letter,
snacks.
or-
So for breakfast,
or
it's just sitting on my
generalized?
desk. I know.
I'm just saying,
Strategy wise, is if we are too specific, that usually gives them a way to fight back. You know, if you go real specific on the issue, but if you generalize it, it's harder to fight that.
that it seemed to be. Because
The legal challenge.
if it does
is
get transferred, are they gonna lower their budget 300,000? The city? That's always my thought.
That's a provocative question.
Yeah. If they're doing away with it, then it's costing.
Yeah, you know, something tells.
But it's still gonna cost us an extra 20%.
Yeah.
Whatever that total is,
Tell
so.
you this, when they gave us the health department full, they didn't.
No.
Yeah.
It was a much bigger number than that.
Well, I guess they're still gonna have to pay 80% of it. I mean, well, but it's the law board budget, not their budget. Their
Right.
budget should reduce that much.
It should, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something tells me it won't. Question. Brown's gonna be here for this one.
No.
I did hear, one other.
This is reverting back to our first.
Yeah, this is one they rescheduled.
1915.
Oh, sorry, yeah, okay.
Yeah, multiple.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you have more than
Make-
two.
20 minutes, make it 12:15.
12:15?
I'm gonna move that the county commissioners, including Chairman McKinley, Vice Chair Foki, and Commissioner Ford, with Jacob Hansen, interim county counselor, Rich Fargo County Clerk, and Elizabeth Ward, Human Resource Director, recess into executive session on a performance matter of non-elected personnel, an exception to the Kansas Open Meetings Act for the purpose of discussing the work conduct of an employee and to protect the privacy of the employee, and the open meeting to resume in the county commission chamber at 12:15 PM.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded for the county commission to recess into executive session for reasons previously stated under the performance matter of non-elected personnel exception to the Kansas Open Meeting Act. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioners, the meeting is live.
I'll move that the Board of County Commissioners come out of executive session.
I'd second that.
Moved and seconded for Board of County Commissioners come out of executive session.
In
All in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
I thought I did something wrong.
No, that's me,
I'll move that the record reflect no binding action was taken during the executive session.
I would second that.
Moved and seconded, the record reflect no binding action was taken during the executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Or at least-
Do we want to do just through us and the attorney or to finish this up or what?
Yes.
No, let's just leave it as is.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll move.
Oh, leave everybody, oh.
Yeah, is that all right?
No, okay, I didn't understand what you meant. Okay.
Is that what you meant?
No, I meant the three of us and our attorney to discuss what the next step would be.
Sure, guys go.
I don't, that's up to you guys.
I think all of it, and then like
All of
they,
us,
we may be
okay.
setting up another meeting for later.
We need to get this resolved.
Oh, yeah. That's, yeah, that's where I'm at. I'll move that the county commissioners, including Chairman McKinley, Vice Chair Foki, and Commissioner Ford, with Jacob Hansen, interim county counselor, Rich Fargo County Clerk, and Elizabeth Ward, Human Resource Director, recess into executive session on a performance matter of non-elected personnel, an exception to the Kansas Open Meetings Act, for the purpose of discussing the work conduct of an employee and to protect the privacy of the employee. The open meeting to resume in the county commission chamber at 12:25 PM.
Yeah,
Make it even.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded for the county commission to recess an executive session for reasons previously stated under the performance matter of non-elected personnel exception to the Kansas Open Meeting Act. All in favor?
Aye.
The meeting's live.
Okay, I'll move that the Board of County Commissioners come out of executive session.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded, the Board of County Commissioners come out of executive session, all in favor?
Aye.
I'll also move that the record reflect action shall be taken consistent with the consensus reached in executive session.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded, the record reflect action shall be taken consistent with the consensus reached in executive session, all in favor?
Aye.
I don't have anything. I hope
One-
you don't
one more
either.
quick- one more quick.
Yeah. I make a motion that we adjourn the May 22nd meeting of the Riley County Commission.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded that we adjourn the May 22nd, May 22nd meeting of the Riley County Commission, all in favor?